Hello, and welcome to Your Sparkly Brand, the podcast for game-changing, badass business owners who aren't afraid to sparkle and stand out. We're all about fighting the status quo in marketing and branding so you can reach more people and make more money. Coaches, creatives, and thought leaders, here you'll discover how to become magnetic AF so you can build and scale a sparkly empire. I'm Lauren Tassi, a digital marketing expert for coaches and course creators, and I'm joined by my co-host, the branding and web design queen, Megan Gersh. Hi, Megan.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. How was your week? What's your sparkly moments?
So I just had a client get back to me late last night, and basically I had done a branding project for her and literally no changes, literally approved on the first go. So it feels pretty good to have hit that home run on the first try. So it's making me feel a little sparkly.
Ooh, I feel like that's a good anecdote to today's topic too.
Absolutely. What about you? What was your sparkly moment?
So this is pretty basic, but a standing desk. I actually have my desk is kind of like a drafting table design. So I've had a standing desk for years and I rarely actually put it up, but my back was hurting a couple weeks ago. So it's let me switch things up. So I put it up and I've had it up for 2 weeks. And then on Monday I wasn't feeling that great. And I was like, you know what? I'm kind of tired. Let me put the standing desk down. Not as good. Don't like it as much. So now I got to figure out I think I need a second dedicated area for sitting because right now I'm standing and doing great. But then when I go to take a break, I'm all hunched over again and shoved into a corner and not doing good things for my back. But it feels good I think it's good for calls and stuff too, to be on your feet.
Yeah, there's something about standing your energy wise. When I've noticed that I do my TikTok lives and I'm standing during those and total energy shift because it's just you're up, you're moving around, your whole body is engaged. It definitely makes a difference.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about today's episode. Let's talk about a little bit where we're going with the podcast in general. So we have done 70 episodes of this podcast, whether that's believable or not. So we're Meg and I have been talking lately about what else, what are we talking about? What else is there to say for new business owners? And we kind of realized that we've done that. There are 70 episodes about how to build a business, how to start from scratch, how to DIY it all on your own. And we both in our businesses and the clients we're working with just really aren't in that DIY, do it on your own phase anymore. I have a team of people that's growing every week that are helping me do things. So I think that's where we're going with this podcast. We're really sort of taking it up a level and it's, more high level marketing and branding advice, topics, business mindset stuff. And so we're starting that off today with our episode about dreamy AF clients, right? And for me, that is coaches and course creators, the ones who are out there really making a change in the world, those who want to do things differently and aren't afraid to shine bright. My dream client knows they need help with their marketing and they're happy to pay an expert to take it off their plate.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm so excited about the new direction of the podcast. When it comes to my dream client, I really love to work with creative types that aren't afraid to make bold moves in their business. These are people that have usually been in business a few years at this point. Like you said, the DIY is just starting to not cut it anymore. They need to really make some changes in order to really stand out in their niche and in their market. And there's also a kind of personal element that I've noticed amongst some of my most favorite clients. And it's that they no longer feel excited or they no longer feel confident in their brand. I've heard from several people, I've been afraid to send my website out. I've been afraid to market my business because I know that it's not a true reflection of where I'm at in business. And that is a big, big indicator that it's time to make a change with your branding or with your website. And so these are people that really are ready to step into that power and really own themselves and what it means to really embody their businesses and stand for, their core values and kind of get their message out.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing about especially when I was starting a dreamy client or an ideal client, right? It was really someone who can pay me, someone who needs a copywriter. And now it's just it's more specific, but then it's also kind of general as well. I can know after a few minutes on a Zoom if you are a dream client for me. And sometimes, and I don't advise this because right now some of my clients are all over the place, but they're all dream clients because they're amazing people with amazing businesses. But sometimes they're all over the place. I love coaches and course creators. I feel as a group, those people are really my people. But sometimes, you know what? I got a client who has a solar installation business right now, and they're so cool. And what they're doing is they're really changing that industry. So I think that's part of the up leveling of the podcast and the up leveling of us and our businesses is really getting narrower on that, but knowing within us what is a dream client.
I think you pointed out something super important too about actually getting on a Zoom call with people and having video during that call, especially in my opinion, is so important just because there's so much more you can get across in video and you can kind of get the vibe of the person, like you said, within a few minutes of being on the call. call. And that has been such a big indicator for me as well. Like when I'm talking to potential clients, when I'm considering bringing on someone new into my business, and like, it's just so important to do that vibe check, to do, speak face to face as much as you can, like through the powers of Zoom, and just to make sure that like, can you envision yourself working with that person, over the next month or 2 months or 3 months, however long the project goes.
Yeah, I think that's super important. And I'm always surprised when somebody makes it a phone call these days. Like when I'm working with someone or like, approaching somebody about their services. And I'm always like, oh, okay. I mean, I respect that. You can do that, but everybody uses Zoom now. So there's not like that barrier of like, well, here's how it works. You got to click the link. Like we know how it works. So it seems like an easy way to connect.
So let's talk a bit about how exactly to attract these Dreamy AF clients. So this is going to obviously be different for all different types of businesses, but I'd love to tell you a bit about my process. So I specifically try to craft my marketing with that ideal client in mind. I also make sure that I'm saying like what I do believe in and what I don't believe in order to try to repel those wrong people from my business. So, I'm trying to repel any kind of hustle, bro kind of culture, bro marketing. We just did an episode on that. And I also try to share some behind the scenes and relatable content as well, just to, try to humanize my brand, try to attract like-minded folks to my business. And then some folks will follow me for a while. Some folks will get on my email list. I've had a combination of those two prongs, essentially becoming clients in my business. But what I do as far as like an intake process is basically, if you are interested in working together at all, I have an application process in place for my business. So you would reach out via the application. I would receive the application at that time. I would take a look at your answers, basically see like, do we seem aligned on paper? Does it feel like a good fit, energetically based on like what you are asking for? Can I deliver what you're asking for? Is that something within my wheelhouse? If it feels like a good fit, that's when I say, okay, yes, I'll reach back out to you with a link to schedule out a Zoom call. Basically, we will do kind of an intro call. Again, this is like the vibe check of like, do I want to work with this person? Do I want to bring this person into my business? If that's a yes, I will put together a project scope as well as pricing and timeline for the project that we have been talking about. If the person wants to move forward at that time, we would go to contract, and then we start the onboarding process to start working together.
Awesome. And I assume that like you have refined this process over the years. Is there anything that like immediately didn't work for you, or that you're like, I've learned my lesson there?
Yeah, I've tried many, many different things. I was doing discovery calls, like free 15-minute discovery calls for a really long time in my business, especially as a younger entrepreneur. And when I went back and looked at like how much time I was spending on discovery calls, like it was like, I was doing like 5 or 6 discovery calls every week, and, time adds up. Like that's taking you away from, stuff that you could be doing to push your business forward. A lot of those times, like people would just try to get on the call to get free advice or to, pick my brain about something. And it's like, no, this is actually, supposed to be like a call where we're like kind of feeling each other out, when these people would be approaching me for, whatever they could get out of me at the time.
Oh, yeah, that's a good thing to learn. It's a hard thing to learn that way, but it's good to learn that early on.
Yeah. What about you?
So I am in the process of updating all of this, but I can share sort of what I've learned and then what I'm going towards. So when I first started SEO, and it's still SEO is like a huge driver for me in terms of clients, I ranked for e-commerce copywriter, like within a month of putting my website up there, like on the first page of Google for e-commerce copywriter. There are so many niches in e-commerce. I would get like marine boat parts people. I got somebody who had 10,000 different types of door hinges and they needed product descriptions for that. I was just like, no, I don't want to do this. What about my website thinks I want to do this? And that's when I really leaned into the branding, right? When I was like, we're making it pink. We're going all in on like fashion and lifestyle. So branding was huge for me right in the beginning, even when I was DIYing everything, just because it's so important and it really does repel and attract the right people. And in doing that, I made sure my copy and my messaging was just like packed full of personality. Like it's really sassy. It's not for somebody who wants like stuffy and professional. And I've also, and I might be changing this as I grow, but right now I still have my prices on my website, at least like package prices. I think that has helped turn off people who are like, we are not nowhere in the same ballpark, right? If you're not willing to invest thousands in copy, somebody else is going to be a better copywriter for you. So that for me has worked. And I think I might try not doing it and see how it goes in the future. But for me, it's worked. And then my future pipeline sort of process is really a full funnel, right? It's going to be you get an ad or you talk to me on LinkedIn or somewhere you're getting an ad, and then you'll fill out a form to book a call with me. And that form has questions on it that, like, if you're not a good fit, you won't be asked to book a call, or you'll be led down the book a call. You'll end up on the email list, get some nurture emails in between the time we talk, in between the time we talk again, in between we start a contract. So that is in place. I haven't really started using it yet. We're in the process right now.
Very cool. So let's talk about a few other ways that you can use in your own business to attract these dreamy AF clients. So as always, we always go back to like knowing your ideal client, really understanding them inside and out, making sure, like you said, that your branding appeals to them. This includes like getting really clear on your core values and what you stand for, and letting that really shine through in your marketing. You can also use color as a tool to elicit some kind of, like emotional response in people. You can also use color within your marketing to create that brand recognition. So if one of your colors is pink, you keep showing up in your marketing in pink t-shirts, or you have a pink background. Like that's going to eventually, with time, like become one of those recognizable traits of your brand, and people will come to recognize you and trust you as you continue to show up with valuable information. The other thing is you also want to show up online where your ideal clients are actually spending their time. So maybe that's social media, maybe that's somewhere else. Just make sure that, your clients are actually hanging out there, because otherwise you may wind up kind of spinning your wheels. And make sure to also engage meaningfully and authentically with these types of people.
Yeah. Some other ones to talk about is to make sure that your messaging is consistent everywhere. It's one of those things that, like, it just, when it's off, and your client is going to like know it. They might not be able to tell you why they don't quite trust you, why they're not quite ready to buy. But if somebody else is writing this copy and somebody else is writing this copy and you're writing this copy, it's never going to mesh, and it's always going to feel a little weird. Another thing to do is to know your value and price accordingly, right? Dreamy clients, they pay, and they're happy to pay because they trust you and they want to take something off their plate. They want to have the experts in their corner. I say, price, like we're always talking about, raise your prices, know your value, price accordingly. And another one is to ask for referrals, right? Cool people know cool people. It's such a great way to find new clients and have people that like maybe wouldn't have come across your world end up in your corner. And a good way to do that is to like offer a reward. I have a system right now that I feel like is a little low budget. I need to find a way that's like cool and on brand and like have that in place, because I know it's a valuable thing to have, to just be like, hey, so so I'm working on that.
That could be a good podcast episode.
Ooh, there you go.
All right. Well, that is it for this episode. If you are feeling dreamy about all of the clients that are waiting for you, we'd love to hear from you either on social media or send us an email. If you're ready to uplevel your branding or your website so that you can magnetically attract your ideal clients, click the link in the show notes to apply to work with me. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, stay sparkly.